Oh no, I have just wiped super glue on the surface of the bridge. It's time to shape the bridge. Not particularly impressed with an artist's pencil to mark out the thing. It's very visible, so I think it'll do for sawing out, but in terms of accuracy, I can't get it sharp enough. This is basically wax, and it's very brittle. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to mount this on a block, because I'm worried about the fact this is going to get quite thin, and I want the support of some wood underneath it. I'm going to cut some grooves in the top though, and you'll see why later. I'm going to this is 2 blocks of wood glued together, and I'm just going to saw through the top block and try to make it a couple of millimeters wide. The slots need to be twice as wide as this, so let's go again. Now to glue the bridge on there, and I'm going to use what Ben Crow of Crimson Guitars has deemed the greatest luthier's trick of all time. Masking tape on there, masking tape on there, burnish it down, I haven't covered that in there, but that's going to get cut off anyway. And then super glue. I don't know quite how much to get on here. I guess I just need to get it well covered. Oh no, I have just wiped super glue on the surface of the bridge. I had super glue on my thumb. That is not good. Clearly the super glue squeeze out. Oh well, that will plane off anyway. Right, just give that a minute to dry. Ooh, that's better. I can hear myself speak. I think that's as far as I'm prepared to go with the bandsaw. I maybe could have got a bit closer here. It's difficult to get in here. I'm going to have to get a file in, I think. But now we're going to clean up the edges and at least get the profile exactly the way we want it. I've used the masking tape and super glue trick to glue the template onto the top of the work, and it's really paid dividends because I got it very slightly out of position, slightly twisted to begin with. Now if I'd used double-sided sellotape, there's no way I would have been able to peel it off without destroying it, but because it's masking tape I was able to just peel it back, reposition it and put it back on again. So I'm happy that's in the right position. I'm going to try this Draper sanding drum just to get these curves defined. I've never used this before. It's another new tool. Let's give it a go and see what happens. And I don't know whether you can see that on the shot, but I've got my vacuum cleaner taped to the back of the deck so that I could try and keep the dust to a minimum. Sanding's all very well and good, but it throws up a lot of dust. So let's try this. That's giving quite a nice result, but it is going to be slow, but that's good. Slow and sure. So we'll just keep going at this. The dust seems to be under control. I've reached my limit of how far I can get, so I'm going to have to switch to a smaller drum, but I'll do the other edges first. Sleeves come up a bit. Actually, I'm going to turn the sleeve around. So, I'll have to take it out of the drill press. I'll just chisel off the bits of the pine that the drum's not getting. Just keep it nice and tidy, allow proper access. That's coming along. This is going to take a long time to shape, I think. With hindsight, this would have been the better one to use for the big curve. As long as you keep the work moving, you're okay. You don't want to stop, because then you'll put a dent in the work, but that's nice and smooth. So we've got that part done. Now the tricky bit to get the outside curves and the inside curve there, which I think the only way to do that is with a file. I might attack the outside curves a little bit with this just to get them down a little bit. Let's do some of that. It's got some of those outside curves, so we haven't got the little pinch point there, and we haven't got behind the fleur-de-lis. I have got a much smaller spindle, so I might try going in there with the small spindle before we use a file. This is a little drum off my Proxon Dremel type tool. It's there's no compression band. No, this will be the first time I've used this, and I don't know whether that's going to slip, but we'll see. It's not, unfortunately, narrow enough to go right in that curve, but at least it'll take us close, and it'll take some of the work away from getting right in there. You can see that, but it's slipping, which I kind of suspected it would. So I don't know whether this is what you're supposed to do. That's got me some way in, and we'll do the same here, and then we'll have to do the rest with a file, but it's going well. One of the reasons for using this block is I can clamp it nice and tightly in the vise with no fear of anything cracking, particularly on the delicate bits. They're all well supported. Let's see how I get on with the needle file. It's not that well supported. And the disadvantage of having all this wood under here is I'm having to carve some of it away. I've chiselled some of it away, but I don't want to chisel too much away because I do want the support underneath. It's not critical at this time because it's fairly thick and it's fairly strong, but as this gets thin later on in the carving process, it's going to need support. I'm trying to keep the file vertical because the edge that I'm trying to create is not this one here, but it's the one at the bottom, and I've got to try and keep everything at this point perpendicular. Obviously all this is going to get carved away, so it's not too important, but I want to get this bottom edge true. One thing I've learned is it's probably better to be filing this from underneath. Just hand hold it, and that way we don't get any tear out on the bottom, because it is the bottom edge that we want as the perfect edge. So without having it in the vise, it's a lot easier to be subtle and just take small amounts off each time. Keep the work nice and smooth. Just got to put some angles in there. I've got to the point where these rasps seem to be too rough a tool to be working with now. I've got a good shape to both ends of the fleur-de-lis, and it feels like I need to be going on to finer tools. So rather than go on to finer tools for the plan shape, we'll move on to the profile. So that will be the next video, where I get everything rounded and nicely shaped and hopefully finished. No promises, but we'll see what we can do.